So yeah, hello everybody. My name is Jamie. Thank you for coming to this session on time. We've run a few of these now, and they are keeping to time, so it's sort of between 30 and 45 minutes. So we don't want to take too much of your precious time away. But this is an important part of the development in the new CPD VLE. So that's what we're all here for today. So Gav and Eddie have been working on this to make sure that we've got this this hub for our CPD. So without further ado, the objectives of the session is to speak about the importance of keeping up-to-date regular CPD, the scope and the structure of the new CPD VLE that that's been developed, and also how to access your personal accounts on the VLE for your own training modules. So they're the three things we'll be going through today. So first of all, just an open question: can anybody talk about why we need to bother with CPD, why we need to update our CPD, what reasons could be behind it, what kind of things might we see on there as well? Anybody at all, feel free to just talk at me or put it in the chat. It's just to get sort of some ideas moving. I'm sure if nobody wants to talk, Gav and Eddie will just interject anyway. Gav, your audio is not working if you're trying to talk to us, but
No, I was waiting to see what people say. Why do you what's the point of CPD? There is a point.
There is, yeah.
Is it to do with Ofsted as well?
Was that Gav?
No. Something Ofsted. Yeah, I mean, some CPD's mandatory evidence of specific mandatory knowledge, i.e. things like safeguarding, is something which is a requirement for all. So some things are based on compliancy in terms of compliancy for a specific role that you do.
Anybody else?
Well, the other thing is, if in the industry we work in, the training industry, if no one actually did any CPD, we'd actually be outdated before we knew it. So I think, yes, there is the mandatory element to it all, which is things like the refreshers, the safeguarding, the E&D, the prevent, that must be done. But also there's things that might only sort of, I suppose, relate to certain people. So if you were a trainer, you may want to look at sort of like more teaching, training CPD, staying with industry standards. If you're in management, you may want to go off and do things around line managing people and developing people. So there's individual strands, but also overarching strands.
Well, that's the best response we've had all week, Simon. Well done. But yeah, that in a nutshell is exactly it. So it's making sure that we're on top of things that we have to keep on top of. So those mandatory elements, safeguarding, prevent, and it's also making sure that as a company and as individuals and as teams, we're staying, one step ahead of everything, and we're keeping ourselves fully trained and fully coached on all of these elements that we need to within the industry that we work in. So fantastic, thank you. So I'm going to hand you over to Gav in a second. If anybody's got any questions as we go, please feel free to put them into the chat, and I'll just keep an eye on that as Gav's going through everything. As Eddie said, if you missed it, this session is being recorded, so that's so we can distribute to people that haven't been able to attend for various reasons. So yeah, any questions, please throw them at us, and I will hand over to Gav now for your bit.
Okay, cool. Right, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the scope of the VLE, the structure. We're going to do a little guidance on how to get onto it, how to get yourself logged on, how to access your CPD modules, and then Eddie's going to do a bit of a live demonstration towards the end as well. Okay, so in terms of the scope of the CPD VLE then, so it's split up into different paths, different modules. Some are mandatory, some so within the mandatory section we've got things like safeguarding, prevent, GDPR, equality and diversity. So those are for all trainers, all staff. Everyone comes into the VLE and starts off with these things. Once you've completed those things, all the paths become available to you. And again, it very much depends on the role and your responsibilities, which paths you want to take. Introductory modules are largely for the training team. Anyone out delivering training, those cover things like history of PETXI, what we've done in the past, introduction to the PDCs, the on-call system, information about how to use Replicon to claim costs and expenses. things about like uniform compliancy as well. So that's really just a broad picture of PET for new starters. Then have some that are role specific. So this is for, if you're, for example, if you're an expert, if you're a support staff, you're a skills trainer, and those modules will very much cover elements that you need to know, knowledge that you need to know that relate to a specific role that you're performing. And then we also have subject specific modules as well, which are very much knowledge based if you want to enhance your knowledge within a specific subject as opposed to a specific role. So those cover things like maths, English, science, some of the skills, different vocational programs, and programs like Escape, which very much stand alone, which require specific knowledge in order to run them successfully. Okay, so that's very much how it's broken up. Not everyone has to do everything. You won't have access to literally everything at the start. Everyone starts off at the same point, then literally takes their own path through the system, doing things that are most relevant to them. So in terms of the structure, here's an example of how the mandatory modules are structured. So you get access to all these all at the same time, and really it's very much up to you which ones you want to do in which specific order. So things like safeguarding, prevent, GDPR, e-safety, keeping children safe in education, equality and diversity. So all those things will be available to you. You can literally do them as you see fit, in whichever order you see fit, and work your way through those, in your own time, really. However, some of them, like this, like the introductory modules, a bit more structured. You don't have access to everything all at the same time. You'll have access to a few of the modules. You complete those modules, and then a new batch of modules will become open to you. So it forms more of a progressive, logical sequence, really, and that avoids basically being bombarded with too much stuff, and then thinking, well, what do I do first? What should I do first? And almost being overwhelmed with the choice. So basically, we limit the choice, and it progresses your way through. Once you've completed like the pyramid of modules, a new pyramid will basically open, taking a different path. So once trainers have completed this, it will then open up like the support path or the lead path or the expert path. And it's very much then they can then take their own journey through the system for that. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of how that works. So the bottom modules all about introduction to PET, things like the safeguarding cause for concern form, use of humanity, use of associate accounts, PET's vision, the best practice handbook. Once those have been completed, the next little batch will be unlocked, which is all about the introduction to the PDCs, types of course that we deliver, the on-call system. Then opens up Replicon, so how to use Replicon, how to make claims through Replicon. Then once that's done, it opens up the uniform one, which just gives indication about what's expected uniform standards. And then once you've reached the end of that, you get a certificate to say, well done, you've completed the introductory modules. You've now got access to the more role-specific modules after that point. So it's like a nice progressive route through the paths in the system. Right, and now to make things as interesting as possible for you, because obviously with these online ways of doing things, there's a tendency sometimes to have quite a lot of reading, have quite a lot of resource to have to wade through, and it can all get a bit passive. So we have attempted to make things a bit more interesting by having a variety of different activities that are available to you. You know, obviously some of them will involve some reading, some documentation that might be through PDFs, or slideshows, but we've also got things a bit more interesting as well, like videos, quizzes, assignments and activities, as well as the function to upload certificates that you may have got through third-party training, like safeguarding courses and things like that. So one of the main benefits of this is all those third-party things that we've done for the compliancy side of things, where we get a certificate, the VLE now can have these uploaded into it. So rather than getting loads of emails from people saying you need to do this, you need to do that, please send this, please send that, do it by this, do it by that, it'll be a bit more centralized so that you have access to the courses, you have an opportunity to do the training, you have an opportunity to upload your certificate, that gets validated by someone within the office, and then you'll get an automatic notification when it's due a refresher and a new certificate to be uploaded. So it should simplify that communication process quite a lot, especially for these ones where you need to actually provide evidence of something through a certificate. Okay. Right. So what we're going to do now then is hopefully get everyone logged in, and deal with any troubleshooting while we've got Eddie on hand to have a look at the system and see if anyone's got any issues with their logon credentials. So first, so it's been really useful now if everyone can like open up a tab on their browser, on the computer, or on a device, and basically work through these steps as we go through them. And then we'll do a bit of troubleshooting if we need live, rather than just give you instructions and then have to deal with potential issues later down the line. So first thing you need to do is make sure you're looking at the right CPD, because we do use a few different CPDs for different purposes. We have one for like tutoring, NTP tuition. We have a CPD VLE for that. Things like some of the skills courses use their own VLE as well. Cyber uses its own VLE. So this has its own specific VLE for CPD, and it starts off cpd.pxi live.co.uk. So if everyone can just type in that address there, I think Jamie, do you normally put it in the chat as well as a quick way? Yes? No?
I do, but it's not working, so I've probably spelled it wrong. It's probably my fault.
Okay.
I missed a bit out.
All right.
You can type it yourself. I was trying to be helpful, but
yeah. I'll say obviously.
Thanks anyway, Jamie.
So obviously, yeah, you got to get it absolutely spot on. You can always
that was a
mark
test.
it or
It was just a
something
test.
like that. Okay, so once you've typed that in then into your browser, it should take you to the logon screen, which looks similar to this. Where you've got a username box and a password box. So again, this is important that you're very accurate when you're typing this in. Your username will be your work email address or your associate email address if you are an associate. Make sure you type it in lowercase. Make sure you're very accurate with the spelling and hyphens and dots and things like that. Everyone's password is a default password, which is Coventry1@ with a capital C in Coventry, no spaces. So we're going to give everyone, first of all, a few seconds just to test that out your end. And obviously we can do some troubleshooting if anyone's encountering any issues, any error messages pop up, anything about invalid details. We've got Eddie on standby in the background who can have a look at the system and potentially reset a few things if needed. Would say as well, anyone who's one of the internal test people from a few weeks back, obviously you had logins at the time. We haven't reset anything, so your logins that you're using at the time there will still apply for this. Again, if you've forgotten your password for that, you might need to reset it using the lost password link in there. But we're going to give everyone 30 seconds or so to test that out. If you've got any problems getting in, obviously now's the time to tell us so we can look into it. Right, got there in the end. So yes, so once you've logged in for the first time, you'll be prompted to reset your password. Obviously, make it something that's more unique to you. There are some restrictions also that you need to make sure you apply to your password. For example, at least 8 characters, at least 1 digit. There's further information on the screen regarding those restrictions. So again, just make sure you're typing all that in nice and accurately. When you re-enter your new password, just make sure it matches up to the first time you've typed it in as well. All being good, when you press the Save Changes button, that will then give you a confirmation to say, yes, all good, your password is now changed. Just make sure you make a note of your new password somewhere, be it in a notebook or have the browser automatically remember it for the next time that you open up that page. Okay. So any issues up to now? Has everyone been able to successfully change their password?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, sounds positive. So once you've done that, then you go to the privacy policy. That's just a page full of spiel from Eddie. So obviously you can scroll down that, and at the bottom there's a little tick box where you agree to the full site policy. So just make sure you're happy to tick that, and then progress from that point where you'll reach your dashboard. So obviously you're going to need to scroll down a bit there down the page if you've got a small screen until you get down to the bottom of the page there where you see the little tick box. So if you can't see it straight away, just make sure you scrolled right down to the bottom. And then once you tick that, it will take you to the main dashboard. And what you should find is there's a virtual tour that pops up and starts running. Obviously, we're not going to go through that now as part of this training, so that would take too long. But obviously you can get that working again at a later point in time. So for now, what we're going to do is just press the skip tour button of that, and that will close the virtual tour off for the time being. But as I say, you can get that running in the future if you want to through one of the options at the top of the page. So once you've done that, you should have access to the main dashboard. So what you want to be doing is having a look at the top of the screen to where you got like the menu bar, and then there's an option there, My CPD Courses. So if you click that, what it will do, you'll see your mandatory module box appear. By clicking the mandatory module box, it will take you to the training modules for that, such as I say, safeguarding, e-safety, all those sorts of things there. So you press the My CPD Courses at the top, then the mandatory modules box down the bottom. As more modules become available, as you open up more modules, there'll be more options there for you. But for now, you should just have access to the mandatory one for the time being. And then if you've done that correctly, you should find you've got these little cards, and each of the card indicates what that training relates to. So some are for like safeguarding, equality and diversity, prevent. So you can see the cards, you see there's a little bit of description of the training, and then if you click within one of those cards, it actually takes you to further instruction where you can conduct the training, you can upload your certificates, you can watch your videos, that sort of thing, complete your quizzes, that sort of thing. Okay. Some looks like that with the cards. Some modules look more like this with pink toggle boxes. And again, if you press the toggle bit, what it does, it drops down and opens up activities and learning that relates to those statements really on each of the toggled boxes there. Okay. So that's a little bit of an idea of how it works, how to get on, how to access your modules. So what Eddie's going to do now for the remaining bit of time is just do a bit of a live demo, just to talk through some other things that you'll be seeing on the screen, such as the leaderboards, the key information box, and you can get more of a live feel for how it works and how to interact with the system. Okay, so I'm going to pass you on to Eddie, who will be taking things from here.
So can everybody see my screen? Should say welcome back, Eddie, on the top, just to make sure you can see the right one.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give you a very whistle-stop tour of the VLE. It won't tell you everything, but point you in the right direction, hopefully. So as Gavin said before, there's a main menu at the top. All the pages have the main menu, so you can navigate back to. I noticed that Dean actually was viewing the About Us page a few minutes ago. Everything is logged on the system. I just warn you of that. So we can click on here. About Us just gives us some general information, and we can put some general announcements. There's also some other other links on here. One of them is quite an important link, as you should all be aware of PETEXide policies. They are available via the intranet or SharePoint, but they're also available here. And I think they're organised a lot easier to navigate here if you want to have a look. So you click on that, and it will take you to PETEXide policies, where all our lovely policies are there for you to have a look. There's also the complaints action form on there for individuals, so externals can see this as well. That's on there. There's also links to our Facebook and the actual main page. So that's that page there. You'll also notice on the right there, I've got another lovely menu system that changes depending where you are on the site. So here it's lets me go to my VLE. Also on here you'll see the leaderboard. It'll say Dean's leaderboard or Simon's leaderboard. It actually has your name. This is what the VLE and the new VLE, when it launches in the summer, is able to do. It actually looks at who you are in the system and actually personalise the messages to yourself in a lot of the way. So first of all, the leaderboard. This is just a bit of gamification, nothing to worry about. If you click on the info there, it'll tell you how it's scored, you know, how many points you've got to get each star. I think Simon's on a level 1 at the moment, but we don't pick out and name and shame. Then the leaderboard, you can see there, how do I rate against everyone else? Obviously, I'm top of the shop there. But you'll notice that someone else, there's no names on anybody else apart from mine. So it takes off all the details from other users. So you don't know who's above and who's below, but it just allows that little bit of gamification, a bit of fun. And it just, you know, am I doing better than everyone else? And I, you know, a little bit of competitive edge, which is always good. Now, some of us have eyesight problems like me, wear glasses, and I've noticed a few of us. So down the bottom here is the accessibility. And on there you can increase the size to a size that's appropriate, or decrease it again, or reset using the A in the middle. You also can change the colour to aid for those that are dyslexic, or other visual impairment that might help with. And again, it's just an R on here, click the R and it resets it. These menus, because some people, you know, depending on the screen size you're on, can get a bit cluttered with all that there. So you can click on the cross and it'll disappear and you bring it back like that. So it's very easy to bring the menus in. So I'll go back to the dashboard. So the dashboard, top bit's just a bit of blurb. Don't worry about that. Feel free to read it, but it's not going to tell you a lot. It's just telling you what the dashboard is. And if your dashboard's empty, what to do. Hopefully your dashboard shouldn't be empty, because as soon as you log in, you get enrolled on the mandatory units. So first of all, you get the completion tracking. And I'll explain what the colours mean. So the pink there means that I haven't done that part of the module yet. So that first part, and if I click it, go over it, hover over it, you can see that it changes below there to what that module is. So it tells me what there is, and I can actually click on any of these parts of the module. So I want to go to upload that certificate. So click on there, and that will take me to the upload certificate where I can add my submission. So obviously I go to the foundation there, add the submission, scroll down, drag and drop your certificate in there, save the changes, and then you have to remember to click the submit. So you're actually going to submit the thing. So loading it on is not good enough, you have to submit it. You can go back to your mandatory training there, or you can use and where you'll see all these lovely boxes with all the training in there that Gavin explained now. So again, we can go back to the dashboard anytime. We can go there. You'll see there's also on the tabs, there's self-study program, optional CPD. These are the bits of CPD that aren't really mandatory, but may add value to you personally. Right? So one of them in there is LinkedIn training. People enjoy social networking, and there's some links in there to get you started on that, and some best practice to build up your network and stuff like that. You know, we'll give you a certificate at the end of it once you passed a little assessment. But let's say it's not mandatory. The other thing we've got here is mental well-being. Can click on that and enter this, and it just takes you through a well-being course. More well-being course with some things with some videos in there. You can watch the videos. So a bit more interactive. So that allows you to go through that, and we ticked off at the moment because I've completed them, but you've just got to answer the questions here to get through the program. On this, there's no pass or fail. It's for your betterment, not for the companies. So we can go back to there, and again, back to the dashboard. So we've got that. So you can see there the latest announcements. This is where we'll put some useful information in discussion boards. I think they're quite useful for things around quality and performance. So best practice. So Gary Drake will be able to set up a forum there for quality where you can discuss all things quality, for example. So it's quite useful in that it brings everyone together. This is one of the advantages of doing it through a portal like Moodle and the CPD portal, and just doing it as a bland exercise where you get an email once in a while. The calendar, this has been put on there. If you find it useful, if people find it useful and use it, I'll leave it. If not, I can remove it. But it's just where we can put some calendar excuse me, reminders to the CPD that you're doing, etc. So it's for your personal use, and it can send you notifications that this is due, activity is due. That's that one. Grade B, you'll see that on there. Don't worry if it's not populated. That's for people who are going to be marking certificates and stuff, that they'll get a list down there of all the certificates and the people who've got to mark to actually get them to pass. Because when we're looking at the mandatory units, and if I go back to the mandatory and my courses, you see the courses all come in my courses that I've enrolled on. So I go through to mandatory, you'll see the progress bar there and nothing's completed. Now, once you upload a certificate, it has to be verified, like Gavin says. And even when they're verified, it'll come on here and it'll take about 5 minutes for it to actually appear. So even the stuff that you do that's self-marked, the system marks, it'll take about 5 minutes to come through here. It's just because of resources on the system, we delayed it to run every 4 minutes. Okay. So there's that one. The other things you can do is on here is access your profile. So you can change your profile on here, edit your profile, put a profile image up, etc. So you can do all those things. The one thing it will not let you do is put email address in such as that, because that's a private email address and we don't allow any private email addresses on the CPD portal. So other than me, who's the administrator, nobody else can put an alternative email address on there. So if you try to do that, it will not let you save any changes. It automatically lock you out on that. Okay. So if I try to change something on here, because it knows it's an invalid thing. So if I go here and put that one to do that, update that, straight away throws it up that it's got to have petxi.co.uk in the email address. So it's not going to allow me to save any changes to that profile. So just be aware of that. If you do try and change it, you're not going to get there. Don't matter how many times you actually do it. So you've got the profile there. You'll see you get your courses, list of courses you're on, and you can access them by that. The information there, and you get the menus here. And I did mention there's the menu that side, and there you are. This lets you navigate your actual course. Okay. There it is, and I can't get the certificate because I haven't passed yet, so it's not going to let me into that. So I think that there's a staff help, which again will just gives you some help on there. You can navigate there, anything you want. The other thing Gavin said that the user tour, you can turn it on. When the user tour is available, you'll see this little icon at the top right there. You click that and it'll turn the actual thing on. It can take a second or two for it to actually activate. So again, there you are. So then you can go through the actual user tour. I think that's just about it, unless you think I've missed anything off, Gav?
That's great, Eddie. Thank you for that.
Is there any questions before I'm back over to Gavin?
Yeah, I've got one. Sorry, Eddie.
Yeah, go on.
Do you know where we used to have the CPD tracking spreadsheet?
Yes, you'll still have to do that, unfortunately.
Well, will that be uploaded onto here, so it's just all in one central location for CPD?
At the moment, no, because SharePoint handles that sort of thing better, to be honest. Because you can check in and check out on that. because more than one person wants to access that file.
Okay.
And
And
currently, no, is the answer.
It's something we're still looking into at the moment, because obviously, like you say, it would be useful to have everything all centralised within the same system. So it's something that we're looking into to see if we can find a way of actually integrating the current sort of SharePoint approach that we use for the CPD logs into this system as
But
well.
it would, where you have to upload, you'd have to download it. If we did it this way, you'd have to download the file, update the file, and then re-upload the file.
yeah.
And it becomes very clunky. That's what I'm saying. It's easy. You'd still have to do the same sort of thing.
Okay.
This system does allow the managers to actually download all the certificates and that into locally as well. So it's quite good from us for that perspective.
Okay. And also, Eddie, all these courses, these prevent and safeguarding and GDPR and stuff. Obviously, we only did these, I think, September, October last year. We've all got certificates for them. Do they need uploading again?
Yes, they do. You just drag them, like I showed you there. You drag them in, submit. Then they get verified, and when they verify them, they'll put a date on there because the system automatically sees that and triggers off an email to you in 48 weeks' time to say you need to do it again. Because it's the first year, the technology is not there to actually read the certificate. That's why it's got to be actually verified. So whoever's verified that puts a date in there, and they can run a report on those dates, and they can then send you an email manually. But it's just the first year it'll be a bit out of sync.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Eddie.
Okay, so unless anyone's got any questions, that is everything. Thank you very much. If you think of any questions going forward, just drop me, Gavin, Eddie, an email, and we will find the answers for you. But if there's no questions now, then have a good weekend, everybody.